Hello everybody and welcome back to episode number 27 here in the Happy Space Prison. We have had quite a bit of time pass in the map since the last time I was on. This week has been a week where I didn't have a lot of time to record, but I did do some AFK time and just some small projects, and we'll get to that in a minute. But for today's episode, I know I had talked about going to space and starting that, but I've decided there's something else that's a little more pressing I want to work on before we get to that, and that is our carbon district down here. There is some serious issues with the way that this is set up so that we're not able to get any water back out of it. And for a long time that didn't matter because I had tons of water backed up, but I do want to get that sorted, so we're going to work on that today. So before we get into what we're going to do today, let's look at some of the things that we've done over the last few days. I'm going to start down here and we'll just work our way through everything. So down here I have a system set up for injecting water and pulling water out of our system. And it's set up so that I can monitor how much water is going in. Right now, since the last time I reset it, we've used 862 kilograms. Actually, this is water coming out. And then water going in, I've put in 8,000 kilograms. You can see there's definitely pulling more water out of our storage than we are sending back in. This is a pretty simple setup where I just have the meter. It tells me how much we use. And then when it hits 10,000, it trips this signal counter. And so that will count upwards. And so we'll be able to track over a long period of time. And we'll mess around with that a little more. I'm probably going to be changing this up a little bit as we go, too. As far as the water goes, I got rid of all the water that we had in storage over there, and I cleaned all the mixed water that we had left, and I put all of that into a new storage tank that is going up pretty far. I'm actually going to probably make some more changes and make it go all the way up as far as I can in later, but right now we have plenty of space for storage. I also made a bunch of changes here to this storage system, and I'm working on getting these emptied out. I'm going to move this water storage inside the water tank just for making saving some space. I'll probably make a few more changes to this as well, but the main thing we changed here is that we wanted to have what we originally had was the salt water and water line would dump in here to get boiled, and then we had oil across the bottom. I cleaned it up just a little bit. So now we have this tank over here, which is storing our water and salt water that's coming in. It is isolated from heat from this room so that it's not constantly cooling this down, and that way this room can be keeping the steam pretty hot. When the pressure in this room drops below 20 kilograms, it opens up these doors, and there's automation here. It makes it so all three doors close, then they open one at a time to allow all the water in, and then they close all three at the same time. That way we're not deleting anything. And then after that, the middle door will open and create a vacuum, so there's no heat transfer. So you can see this area will stay at this temperature, and this area can boil. This system here is just an aqua tuner that is run through a liquid tepidizer, and the liquid tepidizer is set to shut off if the oil gets above 200 degrees. So basically, this will continue to run and heat up the oil and pull heat from here, just to keep this oil nice and hot. It's a separate independent system. This aqua tuner is still cooling down our steam turbines, which is actually stalled, so we need to work on that. It looks like I have too much water in that system. Let's fix it by doing this real quick. We'll just shunt a couple of water bubbles off to the side. I think just one will do it, actually. Yeah, okay, so we just had one too many, probably because when I was moving water around. But now it's working. That'll keep this nice and cool up here in this system. And then we have our active cooling for the water coming out so that we can get it down to the 60 or 70 degrees that we need for it to go in before it goes to the electrolyzer setup. So just a little more fancy, a little cleaner. Up above here, I still have some work to do on this water because we have way too much storage for salt water, and I don't know that we're going to need this storage. I'm just going to run water straight in, and then we'll store it in the big water tank. And then I did a little bit of work on our metal volcanoes so that we could just clean them up a little bit. they're still working the same way where all the metal's getting shifted out. I just put in an aqua tuner setups to keep the steam turbines cool. That way I can just set them, forget them, and this will run forever. And while I was at it, I copied that and set up this gold volcano as well. So now we have all 5 of our volcanoes producing metals, and we're getting tons of refined metal out of the deal. So up at the top here, I've made a few changes. I'm just finishing them up now. I had a problem with our Bristle Blossom farm where we had insulated tile across the top here, and so the cooling wasn't working the way I wanted it to. So I replaced that with regular bricks and then put a layer of insulated tile above it. And then I'm working out a design here because I want to incorporate this gravitas building when we go to space. So I was just filling in the area here to make it look aesthetically pleasing, and like this is like a stairway entry into our space building, and then we'll fit more behind it. It's kind of the goal. So we'll see how it looks once I'm done. I also did some changes in our power spine. I added another vent into this system so that we could have the water from the geyser just constantly flow in, and then that way the loop could continue to cycle 100%. And that means that we were able to keep it nice and cool, and we also ran that down here to keep the bottom cool as well. As far as our original base, I made a few things just cleaning up projects that hadn't finished. There was leftovers from our old Pokeshell farm and things like that. I improved our Atmos suits. Now that we have more duplicates, we need to add more suits for them to use. And then I added in this system down here. It just runs off the same refrigeration as our cold storage for our food, and it's just to store ice. So it's cold storage where duplicates can come in, keeps everything in here at -20, just like this. And the ice will stay ice, so that if I need to make things like ice temp shift plates, I have it stored. I had all that ice that was in this old water storage tank that I needed to move, so it just wasn't melting all over on me. So I figured I'd take care of it for good. I also put in overflow for our hydrogen, so that when we're picking up any excess hydrogen from the map, it has somewhere to go. Lastly, let's check out our steel area. We finished this up. We did some minor changes to it. We added in the Atmosuit system in here, so now this is sealed off and our 3 duplicates are down here doing their work. And then I also excuse me. Then I also did the steel system down in here. I moved it into inside this area so that this area is 100% steel production. Iron comes in, everything else is produced in-house, and then steel and ceramic come out. So we have lines that shift those out as we make steel and ceramic, and then they go up here to a little storage room where duplicates can access them. This area is for ceramic, and then this and this is all for steel. And then the automation is set up with an automation ribbon, so I can send 2 signals down and shut off machines down here. So that's all nice and tidy for us to have everything in one spot. And these 3 duplicates, that's just their job, to make steel for the rest of the playthrough. And we can keep this sealed off. We don't need anybody else in there unless we need to do some maintenance. And it's running pretty well. We're getting we're producing steel as fast as the Pokeshells can make it. You can see we're up to 55 tons of steel, and that is including probably 150 tons of steel I used replacing metal around the base. You can see my metal ore is back in a pretty healthy spot, because there's anywhere where I had ore that was used to build things, I replaced it with some steel, because steel is now renewable and these are not for the time being. So I was able to recover some of them. So we're sitting really good on refined metal, we're sitting good on metal ore, and we have a nice amount of steel, which means we can actually get some work done. As far as what we're going to do down here, we're having issues with the carbon dioxide in here, and it was pointed out to me in a YouTube comment from a viewer named Imazine, I think is the way you pronounce it. Probably got that wrong. But what's going on in here is that because there is such high pressure with the carbon dioxide and such high heat, the polluted water turns to steam either right away or when it falls down it turns to steam, and the steam is being deleted because the way the sim works is that if there's nowhere for the gas to go, it'll just delete it. So when the steam forms, since there's not a space for it to go out, it just gets deleted. So we get a little bit of steam, but not nearly the level of steam that we would want. Now we're getting more because I set up a whole bunch of gas pumps to just grab all the carbon dioxide that was in here, and then I funneled it into this huge system here where I can just pump carbon dioxide into this room. And then this room is sealed by having some oil and some petroleum up at the top. So we have 500 kilograms per tile of carbon dioxide in here for the slicksters to eat up, and then outside we're slowly getting rid of the carbon dioxide. And I could probably just run this like this. All of these are set up to also filter it out so that steam gets put back into the room. But it's using a ton of power to vacuum up all of that carbon dioxide, and it's not the most ideal situation. What I want to do is a couple of things. I want to handle the carbon dioxide differently. So we have a couple of different things going on with the carbon. So we have natural gas generators that are running, and they are able to just pump their carbon dioxide directly. So those can go directly into the slickster's tank. We have coal generators that release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, but honestly, we don't run them very often. And the if that carbon dioxide from them was to get deleted, I wouldn't care. But then we have our petroleum generators, and they're the ones that are producing tons and tons of carbon dioxide, and also the majority of the water that we're getting. So the best way to handle the petroleum generators, if you want to be able to recover everything from them, is to do it at a colder temp. Because what happens is you'll be in a room with carbon dioxide, but it'll be cool, and that means the water will stay water, it'll drop down, and then you can pump the water out. So what I'm going to do is move these petroleum generators into this area up here. We already have a cold room here where the petroleum generators are in, well, relatively cold. And then the polluted water drops down, and then we can pump that out. So what I'm going to do is make it so that we have a system right next to here that we can then connect with the cooling and the gas, and we will have all of our generators that produce carbon dioxide up here, and then we'll be able to pump that down here into the slickster farm and have things work. The other thing I want to do is I want to tap into this magma so that I can make a little bit of a geothermal system to continue to heat up the steam in this area once it's all steam to get a lot more heat. Because if we want to get the most out of our steam that's in here, we basically want to make sure that the steam stays right under the 200 degree mark as much as possible, because that's where the steam turbines are the most efficient. And so we're going to work out some of those things, but first we need to get all of this carbon dioxide producing stuff out of here. So I worked out the area that I want to expand for this cold coal area up here, and I built out a little bit and I vacuumed it out. I left a space here for like you can call it like a chimney, I guess. The poke shells need to see the outside. They need to be in a room that is open. Otherwise they will get cramped and it'll cause issues for us. So there's just a little space there. It works out. And then this area where we got all the gas out, so I cut the power to those, and now I can dig in. Now what I've done is I temporarily changed this door so that everybody can come through, because I'm going to need a construction crew down here to do some work. And we're going to crack this open and let the carbon dioxide that's in here spill out. In this area, we need to fit a few things. I want to move the petroleum generators up. I want to move the coal generators up. And I want to also put in a bunch of gas pumps that we're going to be using to move the carbon dioxide that's in here down into the slicksters. Now, I got to figure out also how I'm going to run those. So there's probably going to just run straight down through here, but we have to work out the lines that are already here to make sure that we're working around them. But we'll see. We have lines here. I did also dig out a little bit below here. I'm working on that because I want to be able to get in here to get to the magma, because I'm going to want to use that for heat in here once we're done, and also that way I can run some lines down here. So I'm probably going to do some more work shifting some of this magma around. If I break open down here, I can let some of this flow down to the window tile here and have some more space to work with, which might be what I do. Eventually I may also just move a bunch of the magma to get it out of the way. But right now, I'm going to work on just one thing at a time. So now that this is open, all the carbon dioxide is spilled out, I can start doing the work in here. I moved the liquid reservoir here over so that it's still on the cooling loop, but it's just out of the way. We're going to need to run a cooling loop through here too to keep this cool, but we'll get things built and see where the heat happens first. This might be enough to just keep up with it, just cooling the water down at the bottom. We'll see. So the next step in my plan is to run a line into our polluted water storage from the polluted water coming out from our petroleum generators. And I thought I would do it on camera because this is probably going to be disastrously funny. Basically, I cracked down in and put in a vent, and then I also broke in this spot to put in a door. So now somebody can come over, open the door to deconstruct this tile. I'm going to lose a little bit of the material, which is fine. But for the few seconds this door is open, I'm going to have quite a bit of polluted water spewing out that I'm going to have to deal with. But it'll work. It you know, worst case scenario, floods my entire power system. So let's see what happens. Ooh, that actually worked fairly well. Oh, except that it let gas get into this area. Or let water get into this area. In order to fix that, I think oh yeah, okay. This is definitely going to be a problem. All right, the only way I can think of to fix this so that we don't have a really massive problem was to put the airflow tile back. It has polluted oxygen in it, so I'm not quite sure when I deconstructed that. I guess that got pushed diagonally, so I need to make sure that this is going to have more air in it. Right now let's deconstruct this tile that's breaking. We do have a bunch of polluted water that spilled to the bottom, but not too much. Oh, but we have all of that to deal with as well. That was all of what was in this section right here. Oh, it's going to take us a minute to fix this problem. No big deal. Let's go in here. And I'm going to make a space down here to put a pump. These tiles aren't so hot that it's going to cause a problem because it's polluted water. Put a pump down here and I'll pump that all back out. This is all closed off because there's no reason anybody will open this door. So if I can get all this water out of here and get it so that there's air in here, I just needed to make it so that I can deconstruct this tile without the gas escaping. I'll have to give it some thought on how I'm going to do that. But first I'm going to clean up this polluted water mess. Alright, going for another attempt here. I think that the problem is that because I had these two tiles missing, the gas could force its way out up this way from the door. So now, when the door opens, gas will be trapped in here, and when I remove this and they step back out, the gas will be pushed over. That's the only thing I can think of. Because I think that's how I got in on this side, but I'm not sure. I might have just gotten really lucky on that side, but we'll see. We're going to break this tile. It means a lot more polluted water is going to flow out, but they should step out as soon as they break that tile. Oh, we still got water in there, and that's going to cause us a big issue. The only other possible thing I can think of is that it was because of going in from this side. When I did this one, I came in from this side, so maybe I could come down through here to do it. But I don't know. We got to get this repaired so that we can close it back up. We have even more water to pump back up. It's filling up quick. Let's cut off the flow of the loop. That way this water can pump back in. And we'll get all this repaired. We'll try again, maybe from the other side. But we'll have to break this out. We'll have to open this door so that we can drain this out and mop it. And then we'll try coming down from this side and see if that has an effect on it. But I'm just not sure. We'll see what happens. I figured it out. I managed to get in by putting a door here, breaking this tile. When we broke this tile, it kept the gas up here. So now I have this gold amalgam tile getting replaced, and After that's done, we're gonna lose a bunch of water while we do it. But once this is placed back in, it'll be sealed back up. And then we can remove this door, and gas will be in the right places, and we'll be done. Which is great. We'll have some mixed gases in here, which I hope doesn't cause us any problems. But I have a bunch of water to pump back up, put back into our storage. But that's okay. You know, it could have been much worse. There's literally hundreds of thousands of kilograms of water in here that I'm not currently dealing with, so I'm okay with that. So we'll get this pumped back in, we'll get the gases sorted back out in here, and then we're going to work on redoing our lines for the polluted water from here. So the idea is all the polluted water that comes out here is just going to go into storage, and then I will pull this out and run it in to feed to here, and then I'll have another line that runs down to supply more water into here when we need the steam pressure to go higher. And then, you know, we'll have to work with the fact that it's polluted water and dealing with that, but, you know, we can handle it. And that's the next step is moving all of our power plants. So I'm going to move them up here. I think I also want to try, I need for one of our achievements coming up, we need to do the finely tuned machine. We need to tinker 100 times, which means I need to build a power room. So I might try to do that in here, maybe only temporarily, or maybe I'll work it in so that it's a permanent part of the structure. I'm not quite sure yet. I'm going to figure out the spacing for that, and then we will get all the power plants put in. We've gotten most of the things to fit in how I want them to. So I've done 6 petroleum generators here, and it's the same setup we had down below, where we have 5 of them that are running from our main petroleum boiler. And then we have one that is constantly running, that is not connected to automation, that is just burning off fuel from the slicksters, and then any overflow from that goes to the other one. The issue is, I think that this is not flowing right because of the bridge here. So let me remove that for now. I think if I just let this back up, that one should hold off enough so that we are using up petroleum, and we'll deal with that in the future. But because of that bridge there, we're having an issue with the flow from this line up. You always have to be careful when you're using bridges onto things, just to make sure you're not messing with the flow. I guess what I could do, we'll just leave it like that for now, and if this starts to back up, then we will deal with it. But then our coal generators are in here. I don't expect them to run unless they're really, really needed. We are fine-tuning these for now, at least until we get the achievement. I don't know if it's going to be worth it in the long run to have that effort to keep them running, but I might. We'll see. As far as down here goes, I have started to remove the ventilation systems that were pumping up the carbon dioxide. The only carbon left is here. We're just waiting for that to get pumped out. And I need to stop this flow in. We're going to just set that to above. That'll prevent it. I'm working on the automation for this to make it so that basically I don't want any kind of water to go in unless the steam pressure is too low and there's not water up to this tile. So we'll get like a pool of water down here at the bottom, and then we're going to start boiling it. But we need to get connected up so that we have a heat source. And the reason that this is going to work is because I'm going to run a heat source that comes from magma that we can control pretty tightly. We'll just use a door to transfer some heat in when we need more heat in the system. But for now, it's kind of cooling things off, which is making some of our steam condense. So we need to work on that before we can really proceed too much farther. Things are really starting to come together here. I have some heat injection coming in here, and I've removed all the old equipment in here. I've decided, though, that I want to try to move this down a little bit. Having this slickster farm in the center is causing a little bit of issues, because I have 2 different sections that are, need heated. And so I think I'm going to push everything down a little bit. So I'm working on digging out some area down here so I can let some of this magma settle down. I may even move some of it across onto this side of the map, and just give me a little extra room here. I'm going to make it so that the top of the slickster farm is even with the top of the carbon district, well, now the steam district, and um, we can shift everything down around it so everything is underneath. And then I think what that'll do is it'll make it so that I have areas where I can put in more steam turbines, because I think I'll have a lot more, enough heat that I can do more than 5 steam turbines and use it to clean some polluted water and get extra water for our system. So the idea is to first move the magma out of here, and then move the whole system down, and then we'll kind of condense it down to the bottom. It'll be a lot of work to get it exactly how I want it, but I think it's worth it in the end, and it'll utilize this extra space. Magma is a little bit difficult to move, but I can set up some systems to do it, and then we'll slowly get it done. We're at the point in the game now where we can just let things go for long periods of time, because everything is sustainable. The food is good, the oxygen's good. We can just let things run for hundreds of cycles if needed. So probably see a lot of that happening in the future. We did have an issue with our petroleum in here. It backed up and spilled into here, and that's because I just had one petroleum generator, and we've reached the point where we're generating just a little bit more than one petroleum generator's worth. And we had that before, and we were dumping it into one of the other generators. But the issue I have up here, oh, I gotta reconnect this. The issue I have now is I'm not always running the petroleum generators for the main line, because I have that automated. So I just added in another generator. So now I have 2 generators that are running off of the line coming from the slicksters, and they just run no matter what. I might set it so that there is automation for them to shut off from this, because I don't want them running if we get full on polluted water and flooding things. So this line here is the one that tells the generators over there from the arbor trees to shut off if we have enough polluted water. So I think I'll run this line over and connect it to those. That way this will shut off if we back up on polluted water, because frankly I'd rather deal with cleaning up petroleum than dealing with that. When I move this stuff around, I may also make it so I have a larger tank for the petroleum. That way I can set up some warnings and stuff for it, but that is our next step. Alright, we've gotten some more things worked out here in our new steam room. I have a real simple system for injecting heat in here that has just a diamond window tile that comes up to an airlock that is controlled by whether or not this temperature sensor goes above 200 degrees. That way it keeps injecting heat into the steam. May have to mess around with that a little more. I did it on this side at first, and we've drained a lot of heat out of this magma. And that's probably what's going to happen down here at the bottom, too. But that's fine. We'll end up with we'll change it around so that it's a little more efficient later. But for now, I just wanted to experiment with it. We're just trying to get it so that this room is nice and hot. And it's working, but it is using up heat very quickly. So we'll see how we make some changes to it going forward. I'm also working on putting a way to get down here this side so I can do some maintenance over here, because right now there is no way to get through to do it, and that's fine. We'll put in this, do that. What we have finished up in this section is we now have gas pumps that are pumping out carbon dioxide very quickly. We have 7 sets of them, so we're pulling out 7 kilograms per second of carbon dioxide, and we have it set so that it'll do that until we get down to 4 kilograms per tile in this room, which means that we can just keep pumping out all this buildup of carbon dioxide that we have made. It gets pumped down through all these pipes that go down this way and get dumped out into this room here. We also have a line here that goes to the carbon dioxide from our sorter, and then this one is the one coming from our natural gas generators. We moved those up a little bit. I'm going to be moving things all around, but I'm going to just play around with that off camera, because it's going to be just a matter of fitting everything in how I want. I think in the end I want to shift this whole thing down so that it is even with the top of the slicksters, as I said before, and give us a little more room to work down here at the bottom. But it's not something that I'm going to do right now. I just want to let this run for a while and see how it goes. I did make some simpler changes to our water system. instead of having a loop that I was running, which wasn't really super effective, now I just have a line that comes down and ends at this one, and then I have a line that goes back, and so this water from the steam turbines can constantly be fed back out. And the only issue with that is that when we have our gas systems overpressured, the water could build up in here, so we may have to work to make it so that there is some priority stuff going on to change that. I think that all I would need to do for that, I can do it real quick, is put in a bridge there and then another one over here. And that way, when I get that installed and I cut it here, when there's water coming from down below, it'll take that first. But so now our system is recording to get the water going out and the water coming in, and we're definitely having more water come out of the system than go in, and that is where we wanted it to be. So we're just going to finish up those last couple of connections. We're going to let this run for a while, and now we're back into production of making steel, using our system and using our steam here to keep things nice and cool. And we can just keep progressing forward more so that we can get working on space sooner rather than later. For now, we're going to call it a day. I would like to do more with this steam room down here, but it's been a week since I got a video out, and we're already over the 30-minute mark. So we're going to call this, and we'll work on this more at another time. And we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.